Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to show a more detailed flip through of the new knitting journal that I started. This is the Traveler's Notebook in Olive. It's the special edition, and in my last video I showed you how I worked on this first page here, and I'll link that video right there if you want to go back and see how I created that first page. So on this page, I'm going to start by using this Teresa stamp set by Fiskars, and I'm going to use this solid colored banner along with some Memento ink. I believe this color was teal, and so this is going to be my title banner for the first project that I'm going to record in this knitting journal. All the ink came off well, and I just store all my stamps in the original packaging. That way I know what they are. This Autumn Leaves clear stamps I've had for years. I love it because it has this stitched journaling spots that I can use. Some of them are in shapes, and then others are just regular lines like this set here. So I'm going to stamp about 2 or 3 sets of these lines so that I have journaling areas to put down the details of who wrote the pattern, what needles I used, what yarn I used, when was my start date and end date. This is the actual photograph that the designer has on her Ravelry section. And then this is just the care instructions off of the label of the yarn I used. It was really important for me to document this because this is the yarn that I had bought in Ecuador and brought back with me to the States. It is made in Peru, as the label states, but I had purchased it in Ecuador. It was really hard to find processed, genuine alpaca yarn in Ecuador. A lot of them, they do hand spin their alpaca fiber, but then they directly use it to make goods that they themselves sell, as far as blankets and things like that. So now I'm just going to log the title, which this one was called Old Rag, and it's by the designer name is Jennifer Kelly. This pattern was so easy. I'm a beginner knitter, and this was my first knitting project, and pretty much all it is a basic knit and purl with some skips here and there to add some lines into the fabric. This is the Heidi Swapp date stamp. I got this one years ago, I think at Michael's, and so I'm just stamping in my start date and my end date. And even as a beginner, let's see, I started it in March and I finished it in September. So I was surprised that I actually got it done in that amount of time with everything we had going on that year. So I'm just using some Tim Holtz washi tape. These are from a couple of his like antique collections. These little collections of washi tape were also sold at Michael's. I think I got these on clearance on Blitsy. And I just really thought the colors went well with this particular shawl. And everything's already glued down, so the washi tape isn't really holding anything to my book, because sometimes this washi tape can lose its stickiness and come up. So I do like to glue all of my items down first, and then I just use washi tape as an accent. So this is the cover, and the pen that I chose is from Pen Gems. I'll need to find the actual name of it, but I'll link it below. It's something they stock over and over again. They're known as the company as the original pen with the gem on top. And it's just really beautiful and matches the buckles well. So inside I have the craft folder, and then I'm using these tags in order to wrap my yarn to keep my yarn samples within the same notebook as the projects. Now these inserts, this clear folder, actually the craft as well, this is like the Explore collection. It's a blank set that I found for $9.99 at Hobby Lobby, and I used a 40% off coupon. So these inserts right here actually are not by Travelers Company. They're a very inexpensive set that I had found at Hobby Lobby. And so here I'm trying to mark also what needles I used. For a moment I had to rethink about how to spell ChiaoGoo. I used my ChiaoGoo interchangeables, but I don't remember if I used a size 7 or a size 8. I know I used whatever was recommended on the pattern itself. So I need to go back and take a look at the pattern to remember if I used a size 7 or a size 8 on my needles. I know I initially started with my ChiaoGoo bamboo set, and once I got a hang of it, I changed over to the aluminum needles because they just moved so much faster. So I have a couple of extra of these labels that I saved in this back clear pocket, and I decided what I wanted to do to this is cut it down to size and glue it onto the card so that I have another place where I've actually saved it, and I'll also save my sample of yarn on it as well. So this glue stick that I'm using, I don't know if something happened to it. Do any of you have this Prima Planner glue pen? And if so, have you had any challenges with it? This was my first time using it. I had bought it at a scrapbook convention this summer, and I do know it got super, super hot. So if at any point this glue pen was left in my car, it may have been since we took stuff out to the car in our bags when we went to eat. So I don't know if this is having an effect on it, but I am having the hardest time applying this glue to these tags. But I will say that once I do get it on there and glue it to the tag, it sticks very well. So I do like the glue. I'm just having a really hard time using it straight out of the tube. So I was just wondering if any of you have this same glue, if you have any tips or pointers. Am I doing something wrong, or do you think my glue stick melted and got too hot and that's why it's so hot and stringy? It's really gooey and stringy to use, but it's doing the job. So I continued to use it and finished wrapping this label. Again, this one was just a really special set, so I saved, I think, all the labels just to see how I could use them within my notebook. In the end, I think what I'm going to do with my craft folder that is in here is I'm going to take these leftover yarn labels, whichever ones that I'm not using inside of the journal itself, and I'm going to just glue them all like a collage all around that craft folder so that it's just covered in yarn labels. So this journal will be a work in progress, and as I work on my projects, I'll just keep you up to date with the progress of this journal. I didn't want to rush it since I know I'm going to be using it for a long period of time, so I'm just kind of taking my time with what I'm adding and how I'm adding them. So initially I was going to wrap all of this yarn around the tag, but instead I decided to cut some long pieces and just use it as a drape through the main hole of the tag itself. Now I think I'm going to change this in the future. What I want to do is actually cut these, since I have plenty of yarn, I think I'm going to cut these longer so that it's a much longer tail, and I'm going to tie beads onto the ends of those tails and let them drape over the side on the outside of my journal. That way they don't become unraveled too easily. I'm afraid if I leave these ends loose like this, especially dangling over the outside edge, that it's going to over time become too unraveled. So if you've seen Johanna's notebooks that she makes, her hand notebooks, she does that on the sides of her notebooks. She has like a lot of just different fibers hanging off of the side, and she ties different beads and metal elements to the outside, and it makes like this clinking noise, and it just looks really cute. So I think that's more of the effect that I want with these yarn tails. So I'm going to extend these and make them much longer and try to find some matching metal pieces to what's on my clip here so that it'll look better. And over time, these other tags will be filled with yarns as well from the other projects that I'm currently working on. I just finished the night shift shawl, so that's going to be the next one to go in here. And then I'll put the yarn to dangle on the side with this as well. I need to change this cover. These are just the pieces I've had in here. I have 12 tags in here so far, so I know I can put 12 projects worth of yarn onto these tags, but I think there's other areas where I could tuck in more tags if I'm able to fit 20 or more projects into this one notebook, which is what I'm hoping for. This little tag, I plan to put the yarn for like a sweater, because that's probably only going to be one type of yarn for the entire sweater for me. And then this, I've decided to make it my WIPs notebook, my work in progress notebook, with me on the go, because many times as I'm taking a project, my friends want to see what I've done in the past. So it'll be nice to have the completed projects in the front, and then it's still the same notebook that's going with me on the go. And then I can take this pen with me to make any notes as I'm on the go and being thrown into the yarn bag and stuff. Hopefully it'll really age this leather well. It'll get more nicks and look more aged. I really love this limited olive edition. I'll link it below of where you can still find it. They are running out. I've noticed the price has gone up quite a bit since the original time that I bought it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up. Find me on social media. I'd love to follow you as well. So just let me know where you found me, and I'll be happy to follow your account as well. I'll see you next time.